call a member for Clark.
And I thank the Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, I seek leave to move the following motion. That the House 1 notes that the report of the inquiry into online gambling and its impacts on those experiencing gambling harm, you win some, you lose more, also known as the Murphy Report, was handed down 2 years and 5 months ago. 2. Notes that the Cross-Party Standing Committee on Social Policy and Legal Affairs unanimously endorsed the 31 recommendations contained in the report, including the flagship recommendation to implement a 3-year phase-out of gambling advertising. And 3, calls on the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition to grant their party members a free vote on the implementation of this flagship recommendation.
Is there a seconder for the motion? Sorry, is leave granted?
Is leave granted?
Is leave granted? Can you just jump up and say it into the mic?
Yeah, leave is granted.
Okay.
Speaker, and I thank the government and the minister for granting leave. Deputy Speaker, there is clearly an urgent need to address this motion because there's an urgent need to give all members of this House a free vote so that they can use their own judgment, informed by their own constituents, on whether or not there should be a 3-year phase-out of advertising on gambling, which, as the motion makes clear, was a flagship, or the flagship recommendation of the Murphy Report, brought down almost 2.5 years ago. Deputy Speaker, the importance of addressing this urgently cannot be stated enough, because this is a very, very real issue that needs to be tackled quickly. Not only is the community broadly, clearly in a majority, sick to death of the endless gambling advertising, the community is also sick to death at the way that advertising is normalising gambling. The community is sick to death at the way that advertising is effectively grooming children to start gambling as soon as they can. Now, that's not an exaggeration, Deputy Speaker, because when you look at the evidence prepared by the Australia Institute, they find that last year almost 1 million young people aged between 12 and 19 gambled. I mean, that's all the evidence you need to make absolutely clear that all of this advertising is grooming young people to gamble as quickly as it can. And Deputy Speaker, this isn't some esoteric argument. Deputy Speaker.
Order. I just need you to move the motion. You asked leave, but if you could move the motion, that would be
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Then I move that the House 1 notes that the report of the inquiry into online gambling and its impacts on those experiencing gambling harm, you win some, you lose more, also known as the Murphy Report, was handed down 2 years and 5 months ago. 2, notes that the Cross-Party Standing Committee on Social Policy and Legal Affairs unanimously endorsed the 31 recommendations contained in the report, including the flagship recommendation to implement a 3-year phase-out of gambling advertising. And 3, calls on the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition to grant their party members a free vote on the implementation of this flagship recommendation. And, Deputy Speaker, there's been a little bit of confusion on the clock there, on account of that. So am I right to assume that my 10 minutes starts now?
Yes.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. But I will mercifully not speak for 10 minutes, Deputy Speaker, because I would like to leave at least 5 minutes for the member for Curtin to make a contribution to this debate, because as members would be well aware, the member for Curtin has done as much or more as anyone in this House when it comes to gambling reform. Deputy Speaker, I make the point again, and I'm pleased to make the point again, that there is an urgent need for this parliament to decide on whether or not to allow individual members to exercise their personal judgment, informed by their communities, on the matter of whether or not there be a free vote. On the matter of whether or not there be a phase-out of gambling advertising in this country. And the reason we need to go to a free vote, Deputy Speaker, is because this place is currently paralysed on this issue, absolutely paralysed, which beggars belief as to how it could be the case, because there is clearly a strong majority of members in the House of Representatives who want to see a phased-out ban or a phased ban on gambling advertising. So how we can have a clear majority of members want a ban, but yet the place is paralysed, honestly, it beggars belief. We have to crack this open. We have to end this impasse. That's what the community wants. That's what the community is calling out for, because the community is sick to death of the endless ads. The community is sick to death of the way the endless ads are normalising gambling. The community is sick to death at the way the endless ads are grooming children to become gamblers as soon as they can. No wonder the Australia Institute finds that last year almost 1 million people aged between 12 and 19 gambled. Not because it's in their DNA or because they just had a bright idea one day, I'm going to start gambling. It's because every time they look at their phone, their iPad, their laptop, the TV and the newspapers, I would add, even if they're not looking at an ad directly, they're looking at, say, the cricket ground during the first Ashes test, and the ball's racing towards the boundary, and there's Bet365 ads on the road. I mean, you can't escape it. Just going through your day, people in the community encounter literally hundreds of ads for gambling. And let's not forget, Deputy Speaker, this isn't some esoteric debate we're having in here. This is a very real matter affecting people every day. Remember that as we encourage gambling, more and more people will become addicted to gambling. And with addiction to gambling, we see countless people going broke, losing more money than they can afford. It destroys relationships. It affects mental health. It leads to homelessness. It leads to violence in the home. It leads to an elevated rate of suicide in the community. I make the point again, this isn't some academic argument we're having in here. This is whether or not we in this place do what the community want, that the government does what the majority of members want, and to implement the very well-researched flagship recommendation of the Murphy report to ban gambling advertising. And not straight away. The Murphy committee recommended 3 years to phase it out, to give more than enough time to change the landscape, to allow the gambling companies to transition, to allow the media companies to transition, to allow the major sporting codes to transition. And yes, that might take a little bit of government financial help, but when you consider the billions of dollars that are at stake here with money lost and the countless cost to the community of gambling addiction, then a little bit of government assistance is more than justified, particularly for the media companies and the sporting codes to be weaned off this, I'll say it clearly, this blood money, this money that comes from harvesting people, and often the most disadvantaged and most vulnerable people in the community. They should be weaned off that blood money, and the government has the means not just to pass the legislation to do so in this place, but it has the financial resources to make that transition workable for all of the people involved. I'll end it there, Deputy Speaker, because I am keen for the member for Curtin to have her say. And I just say to the government and the opposition, do the right thing by your backbenchers. Do the right thing by the backbenchers who are just having to suck this up and get confronting every day with constituents to say, why won't you ban the advertising? I feel for the backbenchers. You've been handed a sour lemon to suck on, and I don't think that's fair on them. Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
Is there a seconder for the motion?